Hey, it's Jess, and I am coming to you on the eve of the Taurus full moon in 2024 with a channeled message about relationships and the state of why so many people who have been experiencing spiritual awakenings and on this path of voluntary self evolution have found themselves single for extended periods of time. Um, there's a reason, and I was wondering, like, how come, it's been hard to find partnership when you're on this path. It can be very isolating by design, this cocoon phase and this self-analysis and imploring for better, purer refinement, answers, healing, seeking to be different than we have been, because we know that that is not true, that however we existed prior is not the true vibration that we seek to be. And it's hard to find others who are in alignment with that, but because as we change our vibration, our frequency, we start to attract, like a radio signal, echolocation, like a bat in a cave will, or whales in the ocean, like will sonar and will bounce off of something somewhere, and then in a matter of time that distance bridges until you and another person who are on the same wavelength, who are tuned into the same frequency, end up, close enough to hug and kiss a little. Yeah, so I've been wondering about that for a while, and a message came in while I was on a hike a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to share that with you now. A little bit of context for this. Taurus, where the moon is full right now and where Uranus has been going through for a while, Taurus is ruled by Venus, right? Venus is the planet of love, of beauty, of attraction, of fertility, and divine sex. So this lunation on the Taurus Scorpio axis is a good time as any to really lay this. And there's a reason, because Scorpio is all about shedding and healing and transformation and getting to the core essence of our emotional imprinting, our emotional wounding, right? Fixed water sign Scorpio, fixed emotion. What emotional karmic imprints are we carrying that need to be melted, dissolved, healed, transformed, so that we can pursue love from a healed place? And it's like one-sided couples therapy with yourself this whole time, my goodness. But specifically, it's been hard during this time to find prospective matches that stick. Once in a while you might find somebody and get super excited, like, oh my god, I can't believe this person is, been doing all the weird stuff I've been doing by myself in my room, watching all the videos I've been watching, and chanting the mantras and climbing the fruit trees and all that fun, cool stuff. Filtering their water, their shower water, and all that. I'm scrolling because I'm looking for the place in my newsletter where I said this. Yes, okay, cool. We are in an extended period of solitude to avoid repeating and perpetuating lower karmas with other souls. We have separated from intimate partner relationships to spend time reflecting, cleansing, healing, and closing out, starving off the missteps and blind trauma patterns that were ingrained in our identity. Most of this was learned and copied from childhood, from relationships that we observed in our childhood. But as we follow this path of self-evolution, we are able to observe and understand the masks of pain and misinterpretation that we've carried, that we have lived behind and intertwined with, and intertwined these masks of pain and misunderstanding into unions. So it wasn't our true face that we were wearing in these previous relationships, marriages, partnerships. It wasn't our true face that we were wearing in how we used and pursued romance in the past, how we pursued sexual partnerships in the past. because in many ways this has been the approach to these and how they act in our lives. The role of these partnerships in our lives has been usurped, homogenized, and perverted in a lot of ways in the media, right? We see, monkey do, they know that. So we see in everything from, the label on a bottle of cranberry juice all the way to, movies like Titanic and sex sells. They know that. So every movie, everything, you got people taking their clothes off and rubbing up against each other, and you see that often enough and you're like, oh, that's normal, that's what people do, that's just part of what this is. Like everything else in the media, there's so much more, and they just blew out one tiny portion of what we have to offer in this experience. Okay, yes, we're cleansing them out. So we're not getting together to meet new people because we're all collectively agreeing to this path of evolution where we're cleansing everything out in ourselves. So you can't really do that when you're messed up with somebody else, because then it becomes, it's too easy. It's too easy to just enjoy and hey, let's not think about spirituality, or maybe, that's the kind of conversation that gets the passion going for the first few weeks and the first few hikes, and you spend time together, and then all of a sudden you're kind of right back in the pattern of, well, why don't we just go get sushi, or why don't we go to this vegan food truck, And the pattern of consumption in those couplings is too simple, too ingrained, and it also takes us away from that self-observation and self-reflection. So, yes, because any shadow left unseen in the soul will perpetuate in complexes with a lover. And it's like when people are doing parasite cleanses and they go through dietary changes and they're taking all the herbs to clean everything out, the cravings get stronger because those little parasites in you are like, we need yeast, we need sugar, we need refined acidic bleached white flour, we need meat, we need dairy to keep living, right? So any little bit of shadow that's still in you is going to bring in somebody who is gonna be in for a whirlwind. And that actually adds more negative karmic balance to where we are and where we're trying to get to. So it moves us in the wrong direction. We backpedal when we fall into relationships prematurely. There's nothing wrong if you feel a divine union and you're like, yes, this feels right. I'm being careful about how I'm getting involved. What are my motivations for getting involved? Am I really in love with this person for who they authentically are in their soul? Or am I just looking for a quick fix, a warm body and a pretty face to snuggle me because it's cold and I'm tired of being lonely and I'm tired of watching, weirdo YouTube videos by myself in the dark, eating my fruit or my raw salad or my, whatever it is that we're eating on these journeys that we're on. Because it's really hard to go to restaurants and to go to bars the way everyone else does, So there's just one of the ways in which this path is isolating, but oh my God, so worth it. Yeah. So we don't want to perpetuate these complexes because they create heavier karma. They throw our balance off. And right now, every one of us is working to cleanse that. So we close out the pattern in self. You have to be alone to observe the pattern and see where in my past relationships have I played these out. Where have I played these false roles that led to pain, disillusionment, abuse of love, and misinterpretation of love, and limiting of love into one form, one language, one experience. What does happen though, because we are craving tribe, we seek community. And in those communities, or, at the supplement section at the grocery store, or at the farmer's market, or on a hike, you see somebody else with the same earth runners or 5-toe Vibrams, or doing it barefoot, We're going to these events and we're interacting with like-minded individuals, and you are finding people that you are going to be sexually attracted to. Let's be real. It feels so fun when you're finding that kind of thing. Um, but those relationships are staying at an arm's length, um, because we're bringing these people in and we're talking and we're finding all of the idiosyncrasies and similarities and coincidences. And you would not believe the year I've been through, and then I tell you everything and you're like, that is exactly the year that I have had too. Where have you been? Oh my God, let me tell you. Have you heard about this? Have you read James Nestor's Breath? I never breathed in my mouth anymore. Like, me too, me neither. I hate it when I hear people behind me, these conversations, and they feel really good because you're like, finally, some resonance. Dear God, it's been so long since I've tasted the sweet nectar of recognition. But these interactions are meant to happen because they hook us with the sexual attraction. We're humans, we're sensory beings, we're here to be on earth and engage in earthly delights, yes. So we get hooked on these flirtations, and it feels really awesome. The interaction is meant to be provocative, to disturb and dredge up anything left in you. Okay, well, let's do a follow-up appointment here. It's like a spiritual follow-up appointment. All right, so in my last relationship, I realized how I was just blind to what this other person needed from me. All I saw were my concerns and my perspectives, and this person was laying their heart out for me every single day, and I never even knew how to feel that properly. What am I doing in this relationship? How am I communicating? Where am I giving my power away? Now that I have the promise of this other person with me, where am I giving my power away? Where am I repeating? So you get to look at how you're acting in pursuit of this potential romantic relationship. And you're like, all right, how am I doing? How is this the same? Where am I doing the same things? Where am I falling into the same ruts? And where am I noticing how I am approaching this completely differently? Where am I noting the growth? So it's a good checkup. And then you'll notice a point where it feels like I can't keep a balance anymore. Right now, it's a real prime pivotal time of achieving karmic balance. That's why we're staying single, because we're not adding weight to the collective environment. We're not adding karmic weight to this process of self-evolution and, moving the whole kit and caboodle of this planet and all these beautiful souls up into this next phase, from 3 to 5. And that can't be achieved as quickly, as completely, as neatly, as timely, if we're adding karmic weight, if we're keeping the stuff inside of us and then replicating it in these relationships that we fall into with other people. Sexual intimate relationships, because those ones have a very different nature to them than friendships, casual acquaintances, and community. And one of the things that I have heard is that the more we open ourselves up to community, the more we seek and create these village tribe-like groups, where, like farmers markets, and where true community comes back, where the true village feel comes back. And a lot of this is being done digitally, and that's okay. And then, like yoga studios or farmers markets, these places become hubs of like-minded people who are seeking authentic human connection. And it's so unfair to have one person. The traditional nuclear American family model was one person has to fulfill your whole village. So your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend has to be, a best friend, not only your, a lover, an economic advisor, a good friend, somebody to joke with, somebody to cry with, somebody to complain with. That's a lot of social roles to put on one human being. And no wonder people don't feel heard and they feel drained, because you're shoving a whole village, the village that we've been separated from, our natural state, our natural tribe, collective organization, how humans are meant to be in groups of people, severed from that and placed in these individual little boxes. Michel Foucault, the French philosopher, talks about the institutionalization of violence, and that is, in its simplest form, severing a human being from their natural inherent conditions. So taking a human being from the earth, from the dirt under their feet and the salt water in their face or fresh water. But removing a human being from their natural surroundings is a form of violence, because you're cutting them off from an integral part that they need to survive and to thrive. So placing us in these little boxes of electricity and toxic chemicals and pipes, and that's not the ideal human environment. And boy, howdy, can you see how we're growing. What happens if you take a plant, you take a flower, you take a fruit tree, and an orange tree is meant to thrive in places like Southern California. You take that orange tree and put it up in Anchorage, Alaska, what's going to happen? You're not going to get any oranges, you're not going to get any leaves, and it's not going to be able to do what it does best, what it's designed to do. It's not going to be able to be what it is, because it's removed from its environment. And the same thing is happening. You can see it all over. People aren't breathing the air that they're designed to breathe. They're not drinking and bathing in the water that they're meant to drink and bathe in. They're not eating the food that they're made to eat. They're not getting the sunlight and the interaction with the natural surroundings that they're designed to interact with. So everyone is severed from everything. And that's a violence. Okay, so we're learning how to seek love in other forms, in other places. We're learning how to take that repetitive, programmed drive to seek one human being to be the end-all be-all of our village. And we're learning again how to find that in a whole prism, spectrum of people. So we are human beings, we are made of light. Hue, man, hue, light, colors. Man, mental, being in a body. So we are beings of light. And as we stand anywhere, we're going to bounce off of other light sources, other souls, other humans. And when that happens, your light pattern, refracts a little bit. That's what happens when you take a beam of sunlight and you put it through a crystal. You see rainbows. The light refracts. It separates into different rays, different spectrums. And maybe you have one buddy and you're like, wow, this person really brings out the best yellow in me. And you have another friend and you're like, wow, this person really brings out the best purple in me. Like, we really vibe on the violet wavelength, or I really vibe on the red wavelength with this person. Because you can have physical resonance with people and enjoy physical experiences together. And you can have philosophical resonance with people. You can have, green resonance, heart chakra resonance with other people. Like, there's a whole spectrum there. There's 7 different wavelengths to connect with, and different combinations and permutations. So we're learning how to spread that expectation, and that we're reacclimating. This was not part of the initial channel, but it is now. We're reacclimating to that village mentality, and knowing remembering what that feels like, because when we remember what that feels like, we can then seek it. It's like, oh, let me learn what that frequency is. I only had AM radio before. I only had FM radio before. Or you only had both. I only had AM, FM radio before, and I only knew how to seek signals, incoming signals that were of the AM, FM nature. And now we're taking this time to reprogram and evolve ourselves, so now we can tune into XM. And it's like, oh shit, homie, XM radio, there's no commercials. I can just get exactly what I'm going for in a very quick way. So now that we have recalibrated and we're like, okay, I'm remembering what it feels like now, this ancient vibrational memory in the DNA of tribe, of extended village, where I can go to this person for this thing and I can trade this thing with you and I can share this experience and this resonance and this passion and interest with you. And then we can trade around. It's a gorgeous thing. The farmer's market is my favorite thing in the world. My goodness, I will not stop talking about how much I love farmer's markets, because we're doing it. As long as you don't get too caught up in the commercial, in the, and the cash legally tendered, it's a gorgeous thing what we're doing and what we're remembering. And then we can take that memory and we can seek it and create it elsewhere in intentional communities, and just living our life, walking around, seeing people as a part of your village. And then you see people and you're like, wow, that person is very much not a part of my village. And that's okay. I don't have to interact with you. You don't have to interact with me. I have my resources. You have your resources. Thank goodness we value very different things, so we're not competitive at all. Yeah, you get it. Okay, so that's 2 reasons why. We're doing our own to end perpetuating all those negative emotional patterns, doing the self-work, the self-analysis, seeing where we're growing, checking in, so that we're not keeping it going, so that we keep the karmic balance lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. Second is to remember the village, remember that love and humans are valuable in many different forms from many different types of people. So remembering the village internally so we can recreate and seek that externally again. Recalibrating to our original nature. Yes. We're also closing a lot of soul contracts right now. So if you are on this path, yes, it is isolating. Yes, it gets lonely sometimes. But it's not forever. And there is a community, little beacons, little lighthouses all over that pop up on YouTube and social media. And just don't get sucked into wasting too much of your time glued to Instagram liking memes. I know it's really tempting by design. A little bit is fun, but scroll in moderation. And yeah, we're closing soul contracts so that we're lightening the karmic load of the collective. With love and with gratitude for those lessons. As you heal and you see like, oh, I see why I acted that way. I see why you acted that way. I see the pattern underneath that, say a big nasty event happened in your family and you're like, wow, I see why I was a part of that, and I see why I was treated the way I was treated. I see why I said the things and thought the things that I said and thought. And where were we repeating the same bullshit? Where were we just regurgitating and spewing the same shit that the family has been, in the human family, all of us have been spewing and shitting and swallowing and spewing and shitting and swallowing all over again for time and time and time. Those toxic patterns, they gotta go. So we're doing that. Planes are flying over because I live in a flight path. Okay, yes, closing soul contracts. And that emotional density leaves. When you overcome those things, that deep-held grief and shame and guilt and all that yucky stuff that gets caught in our lymphatic system, because emotions are water, lymph that flow through the body. As we cleanse that, we get lighter. You get lighter, you get denser. Things don't feel heavy and dense anymore. We feel lighter, more open. And we're not imprinting anyone else with our pain anymore. We're not spreading the disease of toxic misuse of love. Okay, so another big important thing. In the absence of romance, many of us are consequently celibate. Yes, sex drives are still very high though. Speaking from experience, and I'm sure a lot of you, it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I still got it, thank goodness, but without a partner, all this energy is left unextinguished. This is actually divinely orchestrated, of course, conveniently. So Eros, Eros, is the divine, potent fire, the muse, the vital force of divine union and creation. It is the opposite of Thanatos, or Thanos in Marvel. Haha. Again, hidden in plain sight, always. Eros is this potent divine life force of creation. That usually gets spent because we've only been taught when you feel these things, you channel it. That's sex drive, that's libido. Libido is not just, in the underpants region. Libido is a lust and a vigor and a oneness with life. That's what libido is. Like the Jungian definition of libido is like, I can live in this world and be of it and co-create with it, and it can get all, into me, and I can get all into it, and we can just bang it out with the whole universe and make the world the way I want it to be and be fed and feed out. It's a gorgeous thing. When you're not engaging in the frivolous intercourse that we have been programmed to exercise, that sexual energy stays within you, and you can use it to really transform your health, your body, your mindset. Take that divine fire, instead of leaking it out, whether you're male or female, you engage in, the frivolous sexual releases, and you leak. Doesn't matter what you got going on, there's leakage. And that's vital fluids that are actually very beneficial to nourishing and replenishing tissue. It's reproductive fluid. And reproductive fluid, when not spent in the act of making a baby, it reproduces inside you. And it helps to not only build an auric force field. In Ayurveda, they talk about it. It's this thing called shukra. And shukra is reproductive fluid. Shukra is also the same Sanskrit term for the planet Venus. So shukra is this divine eros, this replenishing, reproductive, perpetually youthful, and it's just the essence of life. It is the essential force and fluid of life. And when that is retained, you heal yourself faster. Your body builds an auric force field to actually keep out. It's called ojas, O-J-A-S. Ojas is the fluid. And if you're, coming and going a whole lot, you leak out all your ojas. And you need some of that to ascend yourself, to keep a healthy immune system. And I'm sure there's going to be people who are like, but I enjoy myself multiple times a day and it doesn't seem to faze me. I'm like, okay, great. Well, I don't know what your karma is, so hats off to you. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that sexual energy is actually needed right now, not only for self, but for the collective, because we're using that to envision and to manifest this next phase of our perfect life, what we want to see, the changes we want to make in our life, we're able to make with this potency. Hold for plane. I lived in LA for 13 years. This is nothing. Yeah. Individually, we're all just defaulting to celibacy, to funnel all this super potent creative activation into supporting our own soul journey and the Earth's journey into 5D, New Earth, and ensuring that we are emotionally and karmically balanced enough to make it happen. Because you can't be focusing on evolving yourself and co-creating with the universe presently, co-creating in present action with the universe, meditating and envisioning to such a degree that you are able to bring it in. If you're worried about this boy didn't text me back, or what did this mean, and I said I wanted to spend more time with him and he kind of stopped talking to me after that, like, what does that mean? And then you get wrapped up in this ego of rejection, and then the negative patterns come back and the thoughts get darker, and then we're vulnerable. It's like, well, I don't feel good about what happened there, so now I'm gonna go on a shopping spree on Amazon, or I'm gonna, I haven't had a cheeseburger in a long time, but I feel really bad. I'm gonna go get a shake at Wendy's or something, Ugh, it's just, you find yourself vulnerable and then you backpedal. And if that happens, you're like, oh wow, I fell for it again. Oh well. Fool me once, fool me twice. This is the journey. Cool. Does that make sense? Okay. I just thought that was really interesting. So, have patience. We're getting there. There is love for all of us. We go through this spiritual journey, right? And we get so awesome and beautiful, and our skin clears up, and we get a lot nicer and more fun and more sensitive to all experiences the cleaner you get. And it's like, wow, I'm so hot and pure now. And it's just going to waste. But it's not, we're doing it. And whatever you're going through right now is infinitely better than, being stuck in an apartment somewhere, folding someone's laundry and cooking SpaghettiOs and hamburger helper for somebody's kids, your kids. And if that's your life and that's your path, then that's your path. But there's a reason. Okay. Thank you so much. My love to you.